What is up, Planeswalkers? Se.3 back with some more Magic the Gathering Arena. Today we're going to be playing another rotation deck, and when I say rotation deck, all I mean is, like the Sultai Muldratha and the Golgari Zombies, this is a deck that I'm going to be continuing to play over the course of the current standard metagame. I was going to do Abs and Midrange, but I don't have any more rare wildcards, which means I wasn't able to finish the deck. So instead, I'm playing Grixis Control. Now, I actually have a kind of a pseudo timeline of the decks that I plan on putting out in the near future. And I initially was going to have Abs and Midrange before Grixis Control, because of the fact that I just put out a blue-black video, followed by, a blue-red video. Obviously, I didn't want to make, like, super samey color of decks so close to each other, but c'est la vie, things happen. I do want to make a pseudo announcement. I found a few people asking about putting timestamps, just giving out timestamps to the matches, and I do that. In the description of all of my videos, I include the timestamps for the matches as well as for any packs if I end up opening them. And I do this just because I understand that not everyone has the time to watch entire videos. So, if you guys want to see specific matchups that I have, you can just find all of them in the description. I even put like what my description of the match that I have. So, I think one of the recent videos, I don't remember if it was the very last one or the blue-black control one, when I was going against mono-red with the Experimental Frenzy, I put mono-red Coffee Shop. And the reason I'm calling it Coffee Shop, and I really hope that that name catches on, is because that card, that enchantment, talks about coffee. So, now, with that out of the way, you might be wondering, why do you have two Grixis decks? And here's why. I initially had a Bolas control deck that included more red. It had some Rals, I had more initially, as well as some red-based removal, and the Nicol Bolas. It also had more counterspells. It had a greater reliance on doing things at instant speed. That didn't seem to work, and obviously there's not Ritual of Soot in here as well. That is an aspect of why I think this deck failed. But I think counterspells aren't in a great position in the Grixis colors. Maybe it's better in the blue-white based decks, the Jeskai decks, for example. However, I think the Grixis deck really wants to be playing more proactively. It wants to be doing things at sorcery speed, proactively answering your opponent's threats by making them discard, or reactively answering your opponent's threats by Ritual of Sooting on your turn. Because of this, I think that the counterspell package, the playing things in speed like I prefer, I just don't think it's worth it, and I ended up playing this version of the deck. This, unfortunately, does look a lot like the blue-black deck that I posted like 2 days ago. But it's a better deck, right? And I want to play decks that I like, that work for me, that I'm not just pulling my hair out. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about why the counterspells didn't work very well. At least what I found. If you're going second, counterspells already are worse. That's just true. If you're going second in this format, though, counterspells are even worse, and that's because the one-drops are so good. Llanowar Elves, the red Hasty Boys, the red Mentor Boys, a lot of the white one-drop creatures in the Selesnya deck, all of them are very annoying. They have a bunch of different abilities that just makes it so letting any of those things resolve is frustrating, especially when you don't have great ways of removing them. In that deck, I didn't have Ritual of Soot. Even when you have a counterspell against those decks, you often find that they're just playing such good threats every single turn that using your turns consistently to counterspell stuff is going to put you in a position where you run out of counterspells and they just play an annoying creature, you're out of cards because you've had to use all of your cards to react, or you have to use that turn there to draw cards, etc. So it just wasn't a great situation, and I decided that playing proactively is a little bit better. So that brings us to this deck. As you can see, it does still have some counterspells. This is just because you can still catch people playing a really annoying card. Obviously, there are going to be points in the game where you have more mana than you can use on your turn, and in those situations, you can, for example, Ritual of Soot, and then hold up 2 for an Essence Scatter, getting rid of their creature, and now you have taken over the board, right? Essence Scatter is also helpful against the other control decks that are playing non-Planeswalker threats, so creature threats, essentially. Excuse me. Search for Azcanta. as I said. Oh, I do want to thank everyone who provided me feedback on whether or not I should keep the longer form deck techs. I really appreciate you guys giving me feedback. I am very thankful that people do enjoy these longer style videos, and people seem to enjoy the fact that I go really in depth on my decisions. That's essentially what I do anyway when I'm playing like in real life. I have to like stop myself from talking about my lines out loud because I'm giving my opponent information. So it's really nice that I'm able to just play the game like how I like, and people enjoy watching that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. Search for Azcanta. It allows us to filter the top of our deck, and it's pseudo ramps. As I said in the Dimir deck, we have so many ways to surveil and put stuff into our bin that this can potentially come out earlier than it otherwise would, just from natural flipping, as well as the fact that once we do flip it, we are able to find our any specific removal spell that we need for that situation. Moment of Craving is a 4 in this deck. It was 2-2 split with Cast Down in the blue-black version. And the reason for that is this deck really wants the life gain a little bit more than the mono blue-black version. I'm not entirely sure why. I think a part of it is the Notion Rain, because this is going to deal 2 damage to you. But I think that because we also don't have deadweights in this deck, we play a little bit more higher curve cards. I think that does mean that we are going to be taking a little bit more damage early on, which means that we allow for slightly worse removal against the mid-range decks while making sure our aggro matchup is a little bit better. So that's why I decided with Moment of Craving as 4. 4 Thought Erasures. As I said in the blue-black video, this card is bonkers. This allows us to take anything from our opponent's hands, and the fact that it is not a turn 1 removal spell doesn't matter, because often we're going to be playing a Shockland on turn 1 tapped, so the fact that it costs 2 isn't a big deal. The ability to surveil to make sure we are drawing a good card next turn is also fantastic. Even if your opponent has nothing in their hand, sometimes when you're in top deck mode with your opponent, so both of your opponents have nothing in hand, top decking this and playing it means that either you put a known bad card on the bottom, or you can make sure you have something good on top. So, Disinformation Campaign is also just a bonkers card. It's so good, and I love it. This gives you value against every deck. Obviously, there is a creepy boy in the room. I was about to press 6 because I had no idea why this card cost 4. Nullhide Ferox. Obviously, we have so many ways to force our opponent to discard in this deck, adding the Nicol Bolas, that if you're playing against mono green and you suspect that they're playing Nullhide Ferox, try not to make them discard cards. Obviously, with Thought Erasure, it's different because you get to choose, but try not to make your opponent choose what cards to discard from your effects. Obviously, that is, it's going to hamper your deck's ability to, do things proactively, but it's very important that they don't get a free Ferox. I wanted to make sure I addressed this because Nullhide Ferox and all of the other hexproof creatures as well, stupid Vinemare, are a little annoying for this deck to deal with. However, for Ferox, it's not that bad because you are able to pay 2 mana to deal with it. This card is a lot more difficult because it doesn't get hit by Ritual. It only, in this deck, the only thing that can deal with it are Eldest Reborn and blocking with Dream Eater. And countering it, of course. This one can be, it can be countered, but just keep that in mind when you're playing Disinformation Campaign and things like that. But that said, even against aggro, obviously it doesn't add to the board, it doesn't impact the board at all, but what it does do is force them to run out of gas a little faster and keep you going into gas to make sure you can continue answering them. Mid-range is great, unless of course Ferox, and against control, it is just a house. Being able to draw you a card and lose your opponent a card is so incredibly strong, and the ability to do that repeatedly is insanity. Notion Rain is essentially in place of Chemist's Insight. I figure if I'm not going to be keeping mana open to counterspell, I might as well be getting a better value here. And the reason this is better value is for several reasons. First of which, it costs less mana. Second of which, it has Surveil. And it's not just Surveil 1, it's for Surveil 2, so we get to dig a little bit lower, see what we're drawing for the next couple turns, which has great synergy with Disinformation Campaign. And I guess that's technically it. Those 2 things. It does deal you 2 damage, which is very important, which is why I'm running the additional Moment of Craving. I think the other deck only ran 3 Vraskas, and this is running 4. So we do have more ways to gain a little bit of life back because the two damage in this deck does actually matter. Nicol Bolas, the reason we're running this deck, and the reason I'm going to keep running this darn deck. I should say, I really hope that there's a new just Planeswalker version of Nicol Bolas in the 3rd Ravnica set. He's in the story, so there's reason to believe he will get one. But the card is good. It's a good creature, but just with Ferox in the format, it's kind of not great. And the fact that there are plenty of 4 mana X5s and a ton of 5 mana 5/5s that are like really good being played right now means that this body is just not as strong as it was last rotation. That said, it's still a strong card because if nothing else, it's going to chump block and force your opponent to discard a card. That's kind of like the minimum that this card's going to give you. You can also transform into a Planeswalker to just do stupid things, destroying pretty much every mid-range player's creatures or Planeswalkers, getting whatever you want back from your opponent, just drawing cards against a control deck that hasn't played anything yet. It's fantastic. Ritual of Soot. I'm only playing 3 here. I think 3 is the correct number. There are so many aggro decks that this just destroys. It's very good. I think there are so many decks that this hurts that in a black-based deck, this is a requirement. This destroys all of the Ixalan tribes, like destroyed. Selesnya tokens, mono red aggro, Boros aggro, you know, all of these different decks, even the Wizards deck, this gets rid of the majority of the creatures in that. Because of that, this really needs to be in the deck, and you really want to see at least one a game. And I think at 3, that's reasonable. At 4, with not a ton of jumpstart to discard extra copies, I don't think it's as good. Obviously, since there's a lot of Surveil, you're potentially able to get rid of duplicate copies, but I prefer to lean over on the side of just running 3 of these. Contempt. I've talked about this card so many times. It hits whatever you want, and it draws you a card. Doesn't draw you a card. It gains you life. Just for full disclosure, I actually recorded this video twice already, but my audio acted up, so hopefully that doesn't happen again, because as you can tell, I'm getting delirious. Two Eldest Reborns. How am I not going to play a Bolas deck that runs a card that references Bolas? I have to. Also, it's a good card. It forces your mid-range opponents to get rid of part of their board. Obviously, the first part is not great against aggro. This is like an easy side-out card if you're playing best of 3 format. This is easy side out against those aggro go wide strategies. It's great against it really works against mid-range and control, where you just get such incredible value off of it. Dream Eater. Why am I running Dream Eater instead of Doom Whisperer? For those of you who do not know, I should bring this up. People have been asking me to make sure I pull up cards that I'm talking about. I agree, I should do that. So the reason I'm playing Dream Eater over Doom Whisperer is that Dream Eater still allows us to bounce it allows us to deal with non-creature threats. Obviously not permanently, but sometimes that's all that matters. So against, for example, I'm just going to use this as an example, the 1000-Year Storm deck, we don't have a way to deal with that. We aren't running non-creature counterspells, which means that we can't counter their 1000-Year Storm, and we can't counter their draw spells, right? Because of that, once they go off, they just go off and we're dead. We can't do anything about that. With Dream Eater, we're allowed to put them off an entire turn, depending, of course, on when exactly we deploy Dream Eater. But that one turn of tempo loss might be enough for us to get back in the game and kill our opponent. Doom Whisperer obviously allows us to have a significantly faster clock, I should say, and it has the constant surveil with Disinformation Campaign. That said, paying 2 life is not a negligible cost. You know, that is still something that you have to deal with against, especially those red decks. But, you know, they're similar. I just personally prefer Dream Eater for right now in this specific build. As for our mana situation, I'm trying to do that, and I should do this. There we go. As for our mana situation, I'm currently running this situation here. Excuse me. I think you should probably be running 1 more Dragonskull Summit and 1 fewer Swamps, but I think this is honestly enough red for the fact that we're only playing Nicol Bolas. I'm not entirely sure, but I've wanted a little bit of red sometimes, but not a lot. Additionally, I'm not running Arch of Vraska, and this is a card that I've talked about a lot in my control decks, and the reason for this is I'm not sure enough about the mana in this deck that I'm comfortable running colorless lands. I would want to run 2 colorless lands at most in this style of deck, but I don't know where I would put it yet, and that's why I've decided to just leave it out. I'm letting you know that I recommend using it if you're finding that your mana is fine. I should point out how much mana I have, only 25. The reason it's only 25 is because of the amount of Surveil that we have. We're able to get our lands pretty efficiently. Additionally, if you're really finding that you're running up against a ton of hexproof and it's really annoying, I cannot recommend Detection Tower more. It's costly. It's 2 mana, essentially. It's like the Nullhide Ferox ability, but it allows you to just target that nonsense and gets rid of that trash. That's the deck. I will eventually be putting sideboards to all of my quote-unquote rotation decks. But that'll be later. I think this DeckTech version was longer than the one that I lost. Going up against Clunk Clunk. My throat is shot. This is a strange hand. We're going second, but all of these come in tapped because we do not have a basic. That said, if we get a single basic, we're fine. And if this is a control deck, we're fine being a little slower. It is 3 lands, and we have stuff to do. So I'm really against mulliganing here. We're going second. If we were going first, I think I'd snap mull. But the fact that we're going second makes me want to keep this because I'm a mad lad. Okay, green tap land, that's fine. So possibly a Convoke style deck. Let's see what they play. Thorn Lieutenant, that's a good card. We will play the Sulfur Falls here. Comes in tapped. Unfortunate, as I said, but it should be fine. Especially if you can find one of those Ritual of Dusts. That would be... they're playing elves. I wonder if they're playing actual elves. Like tribal. There is one lord, elvish... something caller, I think? She's the one with the robe. She's like green, I think. For like a 1/1. She's like... 4 green to get another one, I think? I don't remember. I don't play elves. What am I? Some kind of monster? Yeah, sure, hit me. Okay, so we'll play another tap land. I think I will go ahead and Thought Erasure here. We could take 2 more damage and play Search. Search actually might be the stronger play here. Especially if, like, all they have is, like, Nullhide Ferox. I don't think that they do. I think this is an elf deck, but I think it actually is stronger to play Search here. I'm not entirely sure. For those of you who don't know. Why are you running History of Benalia? Oh. So if I knew that was in their hand, I would have gotten rid of it. Fun fact. We're putting it in the graveyard because we want an untapped land. That's not an untapped land. That is unfortunate, is what it is. 2, 4, 6. I really would like a Ritual of Soot. Excuse me? Okay, this is like just a bunch of their best cards. Galta costs X less. Costs 12 minus 2, 4, 6, 8. Are you kidding me? They can play Galta next turn. Well, that has to go. No, go away. I need Ritual of Soot. Won't even get rid of freaking Shalai. This is nonsense. This is what I'm talking about right here. Yep, Shalai, that's fine. Ow, ow, ow. Hey! That's just what we asked for. I need them to not play Tristani. Please don't play a land. Well, that's not great. Because that means the Eldest Reborn is not going to help me that much. I'm going to graveyard this. Because I'm pretty sure I have to Bolas here. Yeah. Pretty sure I have to Bolas here. Now, you could have argued that you keep Thought Erasure and erase Tristani. That felt a little loud. Oh, wait, there's a sound effect. What am I talking about? There we go. Out of a land wealth. And they got a land. So you could have expected to Thought Erase Tristani, and that could have been the correct play, but I would have had pretty much nothing else. Okay. That's fair. Oh, am I just dead? What did I get? When did I get a 5? Oh my gosh, these decks are so strong. Oh no, I died. I do think that Grixis control is going to be pretty tough to play for a while because of how strong these Selesnya and Boros decks are. That said, I don't care. I want to play Nicol Bolas. Oh man. This deck really wants to be playing against, I'm going to Brutal Felix, against mid-range decks. Control decks, kind of, depending on the type of control, but the deck really wants to be playing against mid-range decks. Ones that can't put a ton of aggression on us, but still are focused on playing creatures. That style of deck should, theoretically, be what we prey on. We have a decent curve here, and we're going first, so the Essence Scatter is goodish. Go play this tapped. Oh, the Surveil deck. Hello. So I can hold up a Scatter for the Spy Bug, or I can just get rid of the Spy Bug. I guess they would play this first. So I'll get rid of that. I will keep the Catacomb, because I do like land. Sure. Huh. That stops abilities that target them. I think I'm going to want to hold up Essence Scatter on Darkblade Agent. Although I do have 2 Contempts, and this deck isn't going to be playing a ton of creatures. So I think it actually is better just to Information Campaign, especially since they would be able to counter it with this. So let's see what they discard. Probably a Mission Briefing. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah. We do have another land, which is cool. And here's the agents. I assume. Yeah. I can go ahead and Contempt that and be pretty fine with it. They only have 2 cards left. I'm fine taking some damage. And I'm just going to Contempt it now, otherwise my opponent would be able to utilize the Stormcaller. Storm Tamer. I can read. Let's see what they play here. How dare you, sir? I'm just going to drop one of my Essence Scatters. Sure. Sure. Go and play this tapped. Pass the turn. I would like to bounce my Disinformation Campaign so I can use it. I'll take a damage. I might as well Essence Scatter that. Not really a reason not to. Opponent doesn't have anything in their hand that they can do. I think this is fine. They could theoretically end of turn Mission Briefing in order to get value here, to force us to discard our other Contempt, but I think this is fine. And honestly, we might just, like, if nothing else dies, we might just take their Nivell Sprite with the 3rd ability and just keep using our Disinformation Campaign. Sure, that makes sense. And they decided not to use the Surveil, and they don't have anything going on yet. So they very well could just use Mission Briefing for no value here. I'm not a big fan of Mission Briefing in the like focused Dimir deck. So this doesn't target. So this only cares about targets. And this isn't going to work the way that they want it to, because now they're going to discard their Disinformation Campaign. Because these triggers are going to go in the stack before this resolves. So yeah, this is going to bounce. If they choose to, they might not. Oh no, there's no choice. There's no May. They have to return it. Yeah, my opponent made a mistake, because Yeah, I don't think that's in their hand. I think that's what they chose with the thing. So this now, yeah, this now gets discarded. Yeah. I do kind of wish there was like a a button for oops, but I don't need to Ritual of Soot just yet. I'm not under any pressure, so. End turn. There we go. Yeah, so I'm probably going to just take their Night Veil Sprite. Sure. That's fine. Oh, they kept one thing on top. I'm fairly certain. So I guess that's what that was. Let's see what they do. I assume they're going to play it. Yeah, Spy Bug, sure. So that's going to get Ritual of Sooted. Oh, darn. But if I do that, I lose the Night Veil Sprite. Yeah, it's fine. I don't need to do it just yet. If my opponent tries to Surveil, I can go ahead and Contempt. Alright, that has Menace. Can't block. Ow. Oh, sure, that's fine. Hey, it's Nicol Bolas. I would like to Surveil, please. I do not need that. Hey, look, it's a campaign. Let's cast a campaign. Hey, now we have two things against this, so let's go ahead and play Bolas. It is correct that I'm not getting value out of it, but I want to turn it into a Planeswalker. Sure, take any card, I don't care. I assume they're going to take the Ritual? It's the only thing that really makes sense. In what world is that the correct decision? I can just Ritual of Soot next turn, killing... Yeah, okay. That was strange. 'Twas strange. Let us get into another game, because I made the DeckTech last a little longer than I wanted to. But technically I did talk about two decks. Going up against Tails 12. By the way, if any of you want to suggest decks, feel free. I may not be able to get to them, obviously, because I am only able to, you know, make so many things. This is a no. This is a sure. No. The reason the first one was a no is because they both came in tapped, and we didn't have a ton of stuff going on. And the reason this is a yes is because we have Ritual of Soot. So this is going to tapped. And Soot is going to help us a lot, I think. Yeah, depending on whether or not I have the cards for the deck, kind of determines whether or not I'll be able to actually make the deck. But feel free to suggest deck edits as well. So if you have been playing a Grixis control deck to, certain level of success, let me know. If you are running anything different, I'm welcome to the information. This is gonna hurt. Na 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 na. Stop. Ow. No thanks. So I'll play a Steam Vent here. And then I'll have Soot the following turn, then Vraska the turn after that, so... We're not in a awful, terrible, horrible, very bad spot. But our opponent can just buff the Goblin. And, yep, buff the Goblin, put it on the Challenger. I'll be hit for 7 here. Oh my gosh. Turn 3, down to 8. The damage is real. I'm definitely going to Ritual of Soot here. It's only a 2-for-1, but it's still enough value. And I have Contempt to get rid of a potential 4-drop. Obviously, Tajik is probably going to be pretty annoying here, but let's see Aurelia. No, Mentor of the Meek, that's fine. And a Hawk, that's interesting. Because he doesn't have the mana, that's why it's interesting. I think I'm fine bolusing here. It blocks really well, so my opponent's not going to be able to attack. And it gets rid of something from their hand. You know, that slows them out of gas, essentially. Okay. Cool. So essentially it took off Burn. That's totally fine. I'm going to Contempt that. And my opponent doesn't have very good attacks. I guess I should have technically waited there, but we do have a ton of stuff going on. Not a lot of lands, which is annoying because we're running 25. Opponent's going to be able to draw thanks to Mentor. Mentor is our next Vraska's Contempt target. Hopefully they don't get too much value here. Nope, that's awesome. We will just play this taps because we plan on just murdering this Mentor. Let's just do it now. There are probably a couple things I'm punished by doing this main phase, but I don't need shenanigans to happen. Do I want to attack? No. Because it's functionally 2 damage for 2 damage. Because they heal too, so. Sure, that is probably going to get contempted. Actually, everything's going to get Ritual of Soot. Goodbye. This is why this card is so important. It just sweeps this nonsense away. And now, I can... they could have Tajik. I can take a single hit. Tajik doesn't have a way to buff itself, does it? Oh gosh, I totally forgot. Alright, cool. Sulfur Falls. I'm just gonna attack. I can just Dream Eater end of turn. I don't think Campaign does anything. I'm holding up both of these, so. See what my opponent does. Looks like they're gonna kill it. Oh no, they do that. Okay. Sure, that's fine. I'm not running counterspells. We're at 9. Not great. Not awful. Yay! We're gonna beat a Boros deck, hopefully. And I will just play a non-value Dream Eater. I need to get one more land so I can turn this Nicol Bolas into a better Nicol Bolas. Okay, so we want land on top. We don't need the swamp. Actually, we want the swamp, not the island. And after that, we're probably going to not need the Thought Erasure, but we might. Stop it. And we have the Campaign, so we might as well. But I want the Vraska more than the Thought Erasure. Yeah, there we go. Now, we attack. It's possible I shouldn't attack with the Dream Eater, since I'm at 9. And I don't want to get, like, murdered out of nowhere. So, I'm not going to. Like, there are enough, like, against a lot of decks, I will say, like, oh, white's not known for its haste, etc., etc. Sure. So I technically missed damage. That's fine. But, you know, red is more or less known for their haste. Actually. Oh, no, I exiled it. Darn. Oh, but I could just get it back, though. I could draw 2 cards, or I can get a blocker back. I'm going to get a blocker back. I don't need the second one. No, I probably don't need that. There we go. Obviously, this can get Lightning Struck. That's a Lightning Struck not going to my face, so I don't really care. I can win the game with just Dream Eater. Hey, we won. Cool, cool. So as you can see, this deck is able to win games as long as our opponent isn't blisteringly fast. Or they don't have coffee. See what this is, and let's open the pack. See if we can get more shocks that we don't have. I think we still need some Temple Gardens. So please give me some Temple Gardens. That is not a Temple Garden. I hate you. How could you do this to me? I thought we were friends. Oh, man. So yeah, Bolas Control was today. I'm hoping to get Abzan midrange done soonish. I might have to spend more real money. But whatever, it's fine. Because Easy Mode, Dizzyfam, Radberry, Daniel, Flowerchild, Chow83, and Zaraga help me make videos. They support the channel. They support my ability to make the decks that you guys want to see. And if you would like to join them in supporting the channel, you'll find links to that in the description below. You'll also find the Discord in the description below. You can join us and chat about all things, mostly Magic, but, there's other things. There's a miscellaneous server, I think is what it's called. And yeah, I hope you guys liked that video. If you did, go ahead and tap that like button, add a subscription to your mana pool, and cast a comment in the comment section down below. And until next time, all will be one.